Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is Intezar Hussain on personal branding platform. With you, our new rising brand. We always try to bring the new rising brand for professional brands to discuss their achievements, their thoughts. We debate with them and discuss like how to make yourself a brand. So it helps to our members like how to groom themselves. Today we have Shahbaz Sarwar with us. He is fellow member of ICMAP, and after that he have bundle of degrees. So we will try to listen from himself like what he have achieved already. Mr. Shahbaz Sarwar, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum, Intezar Saab. I'm fine, very much. Thank you for providing me the opportunity on this platform to interacting with you and with all the audiences. Thanks a lot.
Mr. Shahbaz Sarwar, will you tell to our audience like about yourself in a brief, what you have achieved and where you are going to?
I am fellow cost and management accountant from Institute of Cost and Management Accountants. I am chartered management accountant from SEMA. I am also chartered global management accountant. This year I have qualified certified fraud examiner from Association of Certified Fraud Examiner. Also, I am the certified tax advisor or in GCC, and I have qualified it from UK. And right now, I have done MS Accounting and Finance 2 months ago in November from UK, Robert Gordon University. I have graduated it, and yes, this is my qualifications background. Now I will come towards my career. I'm currently working as a group finance manager with Spring Tech Industries LLC, Sharjah in Dubai. I have also recently taught as a visiting faculty in ICMAP Enterprise Management subject. So I'm also providing consultancy at the same time. This is all my brief portfolio I have shared with you, Mr. Intizar.
A great and impressive portfolio you have. Can I ask one question? How much your age? To
Sir, I have turned 31 right now.
so
I am 31.
in this small age, you get a lot of things. From where you bring this much motivation and spirit?
Sir, because I always heard one quote that impossible is just an opinion, nothing else. So from very young, early childhood, I was motivated towards the book, and I'm a fond of the books, loving and reading. So that gave me a courage to do all these qualifications over the time. So that was my motivations.
And normally in this age, what everyone have struggled for bread and butter, and you were struggling for the degrees. We would like to unfold your childhood, your grooming, and to reach up to this point. So we should know like how much uh, society help you and how you achieve this one.
Intizar sir, I would like to tell you that when I was 8 years old, my father died. He was the only sole bread and butter. So after that, over 4 and 5 years, I was involved because I was a early young. So what happened that I was involved in litigations. I was behind the bars and all other property matters was there. But it did not bring me back. I did not lag behind without all those obstacles and hindrances. I keep move on because I have heard that if water is a stagnant, it also becomes stingy. So I keep moving on. I keep myself work hard. So I did. After that, along beside that, I was used to play a hockey for Faisalabad. I have played at district level hockey. Then I played on Punjab Sports Board. I played from that. Then from National Bank side, I played. Uh, alongside that, I used to continue teach students tuitions and academics as well. And I am a self-made man. Then I did ICMA. I recollected those days when I migrated to Lahore and I don't have a money to eat, but still I was used to work hard on my studies because I know that I have to make up my future and I have to provide subsistence to my family. That was my motto. So I focused on my dreams and goals. That is the way I achieved everything. And with the passage of time, while I qualified and then I focused on my career, and also alhamdulillah I have excelled in all. I think so Allah has blessed me with the mind that I used. I capitalized on it very well. That is from my side. There is a many struggles. You don't reach into the success overnight. It is a persistence, commitment. You have some your ideals, some mentor who always guide you to achieve better in life. So that's all my brief story I told you.
That is very impressive. I think so. It is lesson for those who just give one or two excuse. It happened to my life, so I couldn't do that one. So you are uh, really inspiration for those people, and I hope so. CMA members and the other members, professional members, definitely take the inspiration from you. I just want to go like you. You get the degrees in management accountancy, in fraud investigation, in audit, and you have much more. But what are the your area of interest now after collecting everything?
Mr. Inzar Sab, right now my area of interest, because you know that world is in continuous state of a flux. It is going updating day by day. So areas you have to keep yourself update and update. So I have also some aspiration. For example, I'm telling you, I will also tell you about my core areas, but I will tell you what are my future plans which young generation can follow. For example, right now I will tell you that future generations, young members should focus on big data analytics. For example, I'm also doing in the course in that. Then I'm the future PhD aspirant in finance or big data. I'll do within after a 2 or 3 years break. So these are the things students must focus on that. Alongside that, ERP, they must also learn about that what is the ERP. Right now let's come towards what is my core area. And right now anti-money laundering is my core area. I'm studying it, I am implementing it, and I'm trying to get it. Then second one is the tax, because I'm the tax advisor for UAE companies as well, and I am certified in that. That is my core area. And third is that data analytics is right now the main core thing for me.
Okay, we learn about many much more about that the big data, artificial intelligence, the VAT and tax. But for me, this anti-money laundering is a very new course or new subject. So I just looking like many countries, are suffering from him. Many countries are in gray list, black list, and this and that. I just want to, will you elaborate more about the anti-money laundering?
Yeah, sure. Mr. Intizar, I will try to elaborate it. Basically, how we define a money laundering. Money laundering is a process by which criminals attempt to disguise illicit asset as legitimate assets that they have a right to possess and spend. In this context, the term asset assumes a wider definition of that, which is a physical, intangible, or represented in the form of rights or obligations such as a pension or trust fund. Let's further move on. Money laundering operations are designed to take proceeds of illegal activity such as profits from drug trafficking and cause them to appear from a legitimate source. Once illegal money has been laundered, the, per- the perpetrator is able to spend or invest the illicit income in legitimate assets. For example, the United Nations estimates that the aggregate level of money laundering is between 2 to 5% of the world's gross domestic product, which amounts to trillions of dollars. So because cash is difficult to transport, so now people has point different ways to do the money laundering. Now let's come towards the money laundering process. There are many ways that criminals can launder funds, but the process itself is generally divided into three stages. First one is placement, second one is layering, and third one is integration. So now let's look into what is the placement. Placement is the first stage of money laundering process. In this stage, the launderer introduces their illegal profits into the financial system. It is at this stage that legislation has been developed to prevent launderers from depositing or converting large amount of cash at the financial institutions are taking cash out of the country. So what happens in the placement? Placement can take multiple multiple forms. If the money launderer has a large amount of cash, they can physically move the money to a foreign location or carry it out of the country in a suitcase and deposit it in an offshore bank. Another choice is to structure transactions where a deposit or other transfer is made using a method that is specifically designed to avoid regulatory reporting requirements or an institute internal controls. For example, many countries restrict the transactions above the threshold of $10,000. So what happens if you made a transaction more than $10,000 to your account? So banks or other has to report it to the government authority. So what people are doing, what people are doing as a result, the most common type of illegal structuring they are adopting smurfing. It is called smurfing, where the launderer breaks up the illicit money into smaller amounts and deposit it into bank's account or purchases cashier checks or traveler checks or money orders. It can he can give a different kinds to it. A red flag of the smurfing is, for example, for banks or other institute, is that if a customer tries to make multiple deposit below the threshold, for example, he can deposit $9,000 continuously over a period of time. So it is a red flag for any institution who is controlling the money laundering, who has to look after the money laundering. Now, for example, if we move towards further on, money laundering schemes are most often detected at the placement stage. You can mostly detect money laundering at this stage, otherwise it will become most difficult to do later on stages. Now, let's come towards the second stage, what is called layering. If the placement of the initial fund goes in undetected, for example, if the regulatory bodies are concerned, banks or institutions or authorities are unable to detect that, what happens then? Launderers can design numerous financial transactions in complex pattern to prevent detection. This is the stage of money laundering process is referred to as layering. It is the most difficult area of detection. If you cannot put checks or controls on the first stage in placement, then it will be most difficult area for detection. Once the funds have been developed into financial institution, a launderer can move them around by using layers of financial transactions designed to confuse the audit trail. So they will confuse the audit trail so that authorities cannot check what from where the funds are coming and from it, where it is going out. The money then can be transported out of the country. Often launderers take advantage of jurisdictions for their lack of cooperation. For example, certain countries don't cooperate with other companies, investigators, and law enforcement agencies. If a launderer moves funds through several such jurisdictions, tracing the financial destination becomes cumbersome. Historically, if we are talking about, layering primarily involves smuggling cash or running funds through traditional financial institutions, both domestic and foreign. So, moreover, now let's further move on the integration stage. What is the integration? Integration is the final stage in the laundering process. In this stage, the money is integrated back into the economy. Means the preparator or launderer convert black money into white money, and what he does, it appears to be a part of legitimate business transaction. This stage of the process is also very difficult to detail. If however, if the integration process creates a paper trail, and you have a trail such as deeds for real estates, invoices, loan documents, transaction reports at financial institutions are checked, or if there is a cooperation from informants or foreign entities, then the chances of detections are improved in this stage. And further on, moreover, a money laundering scheme cannot be successful until the paper trail is eliminated or made so complex that the flow of illegal income cannot be easily traced. The number of steps used to launder funds depends on how much distance the money launderer wishes to put between the illegally earned cash and the launderer asset into which it is converted. Basically, the objective of money laundering is not only to disguise the source of illegal funds, but also to convert large stores of currency into other assets. So what happens? Keeping large bundle of cash, is inefficient because they are difficult to hide and transport. Therefore, money launderers will often convert substantial portion of their currency into negotiable instruments such as cashier checks, money orders, which are routinely used by the financial institution. This is Mr. Intizar about money laundering. Then there are a different kind. For example, I will like to give you the brief, because front business is mostly used to launder the money. Do you want me to further explain it into details? For example, what is the front running businesses
Yeah,
and how
sure.
can
For
we hide?
I think so. Like how you explain the money laundering, it become an interesting area. So I want like the member to know about this more about this one. So yeah, sure. You should.
I would also like to tell you, because I recently saw in Pakistan that a Federal Board of Revenue has issued a notification to an accountant, because accountants also coming under this radar for anti-money laundering. So it is a very hot topic in Pakistan, because Pakistan has already fallen into the gray list of the FATF, and they have suggested many improvements in our system. So now let's move on. What is the front businesses and how they are being used to launder money? One of the most common methods of laundering funds is to filter the money through a seemingly legitimate business known as front business. What is a front business? Now let us discuss. A front business can be a very effective to launder money for a number of reasons. It can be your casinos, it can be your restaurants, it can be different things. For example, to transport the money. What kind of the front businesses tactics they are using? Front businesses provide a safe place for organizing and managing criminal activity, where the comings and goings of large numbers of people will not arouse undue suspicion. In addition, a front that conducts legitimate business provides cover for delivery and transportation related to illegal activity. The expense from illegal activity can be attributed to legitimate organization, and the illegal revenue can be easily placed into the enterprise. Now, there are two methods that front businesses mostly used. What is? First, they do overstating reported revenues and expenses. Second is depositing but not recording revenue. Now, let's look what is overstating revenues and expenses. Overstating revenues occurs when the money launderer records more income on a business books than the business actually generates. The fictitious revenue accounts for the illegal funds that are secretly inserted into the company back. Overstating reported expenses will help counteract the key disadvantage of overstating revenues, because when you are overstating the revenue, much sure you need to pay the taxes. So what money launderers do? They overstate their expenses. That taxes will be due on the reported income, but because business expenses are tax deductible, additional tax liability incurred by inflated revenues can be reduced with fictitious business expenses. Therefore, if a company overstate its revenue, it will also want to overstate its expense to offset its tax liability, so that they can avoid the tax. Another reason for overstating the expenses is to siphon money out of the business to make payoffs, buy illegal goods, invest in other criminal ventures. In practical terms, this method strongly resembles the more familiar practice of padding expenses account. Among some of the commonly used schemes are payments for suppliers never received. For example, fee to fictitious consultants. You create a fictitious consultants and you pay them, and salaries for non-existent employees you use for these laundered funds. The possibility of fraudulent payments are limited only by the imagination. Means it can go beyond that. So what are the activity available for that? You can do it to the fictitious employees. You can pay fictitious fees, inflated invoices. In the above example, I told you that everything about these items. It can be then furthermore on what can be happen. It can be difficult to detect money laundering that includes both overstated revenue and expenses. When artificial price inflation is applied in modern percentage to a goods and service whose market value is difficult to establish, you cannot establish their market value, a fair market value. For example, used cars, artwork, consulting fees, advertising expenses. Detection is exceedingly difficult without inside information. Until you have insider, you can't detect or you can't capture those criminal perpetrators of money launderers. Conversely, complete fabrication of transactions or ghost employees is somewhat easier to stop. Now moves on, let's move towards the second step which I discussed earlier, depositing but not recording revenue. In one of the most common schemes at the local level, launderers deposit illicit cash into the front company bank account rather than disguising it as a revenue. These funds are not recorded like the money that flows into and out of business as revenue and expenses. Like a loan, this excess cash represents the proceeds of a transaction that is handled outside of the front business daily activity. Also, like a loan, it appears on the company's balance sheet, which include both assets and liability. So these are the things. What front run business? What are those involved? It includes bar. It can be include bars, restaurants, and nightclubs. Uh, these are commonly used to front money laundering operations for a number of reasons. What are those reasons? We can, for example, look after them. These business charge relatively high prices, as you know that restaurants or bars, and customer vary wildly in their purchases. Sales are generally in cash. Mostly sales happen in these places on cash, and it is difficult to match the cost of providing food and entertainment or liquor with the revenue they produce. Moreover, the range of goods and services these types of businesses provide is relatively broad. So what happened, for example, fast food restaurants are also frequently used as a front for money laundering operations. Although they tend to charge lower prices than other types of restaurants, most of their sales are made in cash and expenses can easily inflate it. As a result, a red flag of front businesses is observing. Mean, how can authority or how can someone observe that? What is a red flag for the authorities? A business, they can observe a business low amount of, they have a low amount of a business despite the business book showing a relatively high income for that period. That is the step. I think so, Mr. Intizar, I have explained it because it is a detailed and elaborate topic. There are other also certain institutes, because it can take our one or more or three sessions that I can elaborate. So I think so for this time now I have explained it very well in detail. So this is from my side for that angle because it is
Uh,
very elaborate.
you explain like the accountant are more responsible for that one. Like if accountant is a employee for any company, so how ethically will be responsible for this thing?
For example, because if in UAE, you know that right now banks, if I will quote the name of a one bank, they have sent us as the anti-money laundering form. Accountant has to fill that what kind of the activities you are doing. On that base, they have to notify us. For example, accountant is responsible for that. If we come on the firm side, if you are doing a practicing license, so what happens? The regulatory authorities around the world, they are asking to the accountants. They have to notify in their audits that they are checking the anti-money laundering in the organization, or accountants or firms are not involved in them in money laundering themselves. For example, fictitious consultant fees. So everything accountant in, if they are practicing or non-practicing, they are coming under the radar or under the umbrella of money laundering. So in Pakistan, I, because I can share with you after this conclusion that FBR has issued a notification to an accountant where I was reading that they have said him to provide him all the documents how he has received the funds, for example. So now in Pakistan, I went to open my bank account. So it has become so much difficult to open the bank account because they are asking you source of funds, from where you are earning, from where are you taking, what are your salaries, what are your sources. So for example, Pakistan is moving to come out of the gray list by implementing those suggestions which international FATF has suggested to Pakistan. Yes, Mr. Intizar, over to you.
Uh, that's very good insights from your side. I think so. Our member will enjoy and will have the more interest to that one. So for anti-money laundering course and those things, should we be an accountant, or any person can go directly from graduation to this course?
I think so. Different bodies are providing this course, but I have recommended, for example, my institute ICMAP. I have recently, because I am attached with them as a faculty member, I have asked them to include this in the part of the syllabus so that students can come to know that whoever will include it early in their syllabus, they will take a competitive advantage in the market. I am telling you, Inzar Saab, it is the order of the day that you have to bring anti-money laundering into your syllabus. Like big data or other AI, you have to incorporate these changes. Otherwise, as international bodies or local bodies are providing anti-money laundering seminars, webinar, or courses. If someone wants to do short-term course, he can do it. For example, I did certified fraud examiner. In that, I have at length I have discussed it. I have read it, so that's why I know more in details about it.
That's very good insight and explanation about the money laundering and the other thing. Like what I could understood from Mr. Shahbaz, like where we are focusing on the big data, where we are focusing on artificial intelligence, RPAs, we should focus on AML also. So I hope like Mr. Shahbaz will give us more time in next session and we will unfold the anti-money laundering other leaves. So we have the limitation of time, so we will wind on here. And Mr. Shahbaz is very inspiring personality in front of CMA members. We should learn from him. Like in a very small age, he has much more, and I hope he will contribute in Pakistan's economy a lot regarding the anti-money laundering. He can be the part of, like he can suggest and consult to the regulations, and he is really a vigilant accountant and person. Thank you so much, Mr. Shehbaz, to give us the time,
Thank you, Mr.
and hope
Intizar,
you
also
best of
for
luck.
providing the opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Intizar, also for providing me opportunity to interact with you and with all future rising stars. Because I will just say one thing, which I said at the start: impossible is just an opinion, nothing else. If something is stopping you behind, if people are saying you can't do it, if I can made it, you can also make it. So don't listen to the negaholics or negative people. Just keep moving on, because if water becomes stagnant, it also becomes stingy. Don't become your mind as a stingy or obsolete. Thank you, Intizar Saab. Nice to talk to you. Have a very wonderful session.
With these nice thoughts, we are going to close our session today. Hopefully, we will meet you again on personal branding. Uh, Keep looking at watching that branding platform, and we can appear with the new different topics. Thank you so
I
much.
would also like to suggest one thing, Mr. Intizar. Kindly, I would request all the audiences, please subscribe our channel, Personal Branding, as well, so that you can receive the timely videos. Thank you very much from my
Thank you
side.
so much. Thank you.